Welcome to Monster Monday. Moving on in the Blind Dead series to Return of the Evil Dead.
That was the dog.
That was the Evil Dead right
that
there,
was
returning.
The Evil Dead.
They are literally dead by dawn in this movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. Sam Raimi, what's up, buddy? You're ripping off the Blind Dead? Return of the Evil Dead. We did watch the Spanish version, which is 4 minutes longer. I do not know what those 4 minutes are. Looking at, it's interesting. If you look at the English version versus the chapter selections of the English versus the Spanish version, there's definitely something different here in the English version that's missing from the Spanish version, and the Spanish version is the one that's longer.
It's odd.
So I'm confused by that, and but this has 24 chapter selections in the English version, and the Spanish version has 26.
Yeah.
So I don't know how different they are. I mean, they could be quite different for all I know. I doubt it, but there could be some significant changes for all we know. But we are covering the Spanish version. This is 1 year later and the same director, and this time we're dealing with Buzano, not Berzano.
Yeah.
Portugal. I don't know if this is supposed to be like a retelling, almost like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Where it's like kind of similar, but different. I don't know. I don't know if this is supposed to be like other Templars in a different medieval castle in the same country that has a very similar name, or if this is just kind of a remake-ish, but like with a bigger cast.
I think it's a remake. I didn't get the sense that it was another place.
Yeah.
I feel like it was definitely like the same story in some ways because of the similarities in the town and like just everything with the Blind Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you got reoccurring actors here playing different roles, but similar roles. Like Mr. Rapey is still fairly rapey. He's not as rapey in this movie.
He's pretty rapey still.
But he definitely has rapey vibes.
Yes.
I don't know. I was kind of defending him a bit, but he was coming on way too strong. Like, ultimately, she gave into it, but a girl shouldn't give into it.
No, she shouldn't be pressured into it at all.
But I was arguing that she's just afraid that she's gonna get caught. Because even though he's like 45 years old, and she's probably 30, they were trying to almost play them like they were kids. They were playing them like they were 16-year-olds, and he was coming over to her house to get laid, and she wanted to screw him, but she didn't want to get caught, and wasn't 100% sure on if she was actually going to go through with it, and he kind of like pushed her into it, and like she didn't look like she regretted it after exactly. She just, I can't tell you this.
She did look like she regretted
it. You're right. Because he's like, once again, he seems to not know, like, she seems very upset with the sex after.
Yes.
And he just, this is not a man who pleases a woman.
No.
That's how this guy's getting typecasted.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't say she looks like she regrets it. I would say she looks disappointed. Is what I'm going with. Is like, that's what you talked me into?
I think it's both. And I think he's rapey.
But that's also, like, I guess you could say that's regret because she's like, I didn't get what I wanted out of that. I don't know. Yes. If a girl says no, you should stop, period. Okay? So, anything past that, and you're in very dangerous waters to being accused of rape and being a very valid argument for it.
Yes. No means no.
Yes. No means no.
No means no. He doesn't know that no means no.
No, he doesn't seem to understand.
She's like, don't open the window, no! And he's like...
But there is a difference, like, in a situation where you're going hot and heavy, and there's a girl, you're with a girl, and she's like, like, you know she has an apprehension, but like I don't know. That's a tough one. It's a very tough one. As soon as she says no, you should be like, no, right? You should stop and just be done with it. But like,
Yep.
I don't know. That's such a tough one because I don't want to get too personal. But I'm just saying there's I can't do it without getting too personal. I'm not going to talk about that kind of stuff, I guess, right now with my wife sitting next to me. But it's just I don't know. Anyways, moving on. No means no. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So the whole premise behind this film of like, we're gonna burn their eyes out so they can't find this village, and we're gonna bury them in this village.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like they're never gonna find us, even though they're buried here. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
You know what also doesn't make sense? Like the wounds sustained on ghouls are gonna have any effect on their supernatural abilities.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
I don't even know. Like, okay, let's go with that. You can somehow affect their physical body's abilities after death. Like, why not paralyze them?
Sure.
Like, if the injury sustained during their murder is going to have a lasting effect onto their body, you know, their resurrected bodies after, like they're gonna remain blind from their injuries, then why not, you know, paralyze them first? Because I thought about this probably more than I should have, and I was thinking like, well, maybe it has to be injuries sustained before death occurs, because obviously like incineration would probably be the best bet.
Yeah.
Since there's nothing. But what if it's like while their heart's still beating, while they're still alive, they have to deal with those ailments, because that's all I can come up with. If you burn out their eyes and then when they come back from the dead, their eyes are still burnt out. It's like, well, but would these bodies still move? Of course not. So of course none of it makes any logical sense, and it never will. But I'm like, if you just paralyze them, then the blind dead would be like, hey,
yeah,
go over here, this way.
Yeah, I think it's like you said. I think it has to happen before they die, because they burn them. So obviously their eyes would be burning after,
Sure.
But they'd be dead already.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So paralyzation.
Yeah.
Or absolute instantaneous evisceration.
Yeah.
Just like put a bomb inside of them, and they're still alive as it's blowing up, and then there's
they
pieces.
Really can't come back. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have readily available bombs back then, but they did know how to paralyze somebody, so I would have went with paralyzation. They could have. It would have helped had they deafened them too.
Sure.
Right.
Just both.
Blind and deaf.
Yeah,
but
both.
Don't bury them on the property if you want them. They don't. I'll tell you this: they don't seem to have any problem finding the village.
No, they don't.
None, zero. Probably because they're right next to it.
Right.
Right? Okay, they're not buried specifically on it, but they're buried so close. And once again, as I said, they have zero problems finding
they just go to the first village.
They just immediately go to the village.
Yeah.
They're like, noise, I hear a party, let's go. Oh, It's the village. Do they even know it's the village? They're like,
I mean, I guess
it might be.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter if they know it is or it isn't, because they're there.
Like, I can feel that it is.
Yeah.
Breaking these things down logically is the fun. It's the fun because you're not supposed to. And I'm just saying fuck that and being rebellious. I'm just going to straight up take these like they're real, meant to be completely literally interpreted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm calling bullshit on the blind dead for so many reasons. But number one, that they have no problem finding the village. Like you need to blind them, deafen them, cut off their heads, cut off all their arms and everything, and then bury them like all across the land. Mm-hmm. Right? You go from Portugal, cross over the border into Spain, down into other parts of Europe, take it down into Africa, take it up into freaking Russia or Asia, right? You move it all throughout there, bury their parts all over the place. Ain't coming back.
They should have asked you.
Should have asked me. Although back then it would have been very hard to move that much distance, but bury their bodies in different. Doesn't matter. Blinding them did not do anything. So I don't know. It's because it's the premise of the film. We're gonna blind you so you can't find the village, and then they come back from the dead, which I'm pretty sure they use the exact same footage. I think it is exactly the same footage of them coming out of their crypts. But regardless, it like prohibits them from finding the village 0%. I'm done reiterating this, but I just find it very funny that is the literal premise of the film, and it is not addressed at all in any way, shape, or form. They just immediately find it. It's not like the guy takes them there, or like something happens to where they find them, because it would be like they shouldn't be able to find us, and something helped them find it.
Right.
Like the caretaker who brings them back from the dead.
Yeah.
Why did the caretaker even have to bring them back from the dead? They were never coming back unless some random asshole did something to bring him back. I mean, that's typical with these kinds of movies, but that's what they needed. Some freaking like powerful mystics these guys are.
I know. Pretty lame.
Losers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I wrote so much about that. That's so funny.
Wow.
Because I just thought way too much about it. Mm-hmm. Yep, we already talked about the rapist with pushy advancements. Only guy to respect a lady gives her a beer with nothing but foam. So our main character, Jack Murdo, is brought in as what the fuck? I have no idea. I honestly don't understand that plot line at all.
No.
So Mayor Duncan uses his wife's resources for finding somebody. I don't honestly. I have no idea what Jack Marlowe is even doing there. I didn't understand that.
Him because she wants to see him.
I know
and
that.
And the reason the mayor, I thought it was because they wanted like somebody else
like for
to help with the town. Yeah, because it was like the festival was happening, so it was like an anniversary of when the blind dead were blinded and deaded, and so they were like, people in town were nervous or whatever.
So they brought in like one dude.
They brought in like Van Helsing, but he's not.
But he's not at all.
Captain.
Sure.
Because she lies.
She lies.
And is like Monster Hunter, Demon Slayer, trained under Tanjiro.
Sure.
Just because she wanted to see him.
Okay.
That's why.
But, yeah. So they bring him in, but they don't utilize him at all. And
no.
To be fair, she lied.
She lied.
So he's not these things.
She lied.
And throughout the film, he's not these things.
No.
He does literally nothing in the film, basically, at all.
Yeah.
He tries to help the villagers, work together. That doesn't work. At least he tries, I guess. And then he takes them to a house, and in there he tries to get people to work together. That doesn't work. And then he goes and he saves that little girl, even though it's like one of the worst plans and executions of that plan I could ever have seen in my entire life. And we'll get there. But the guy's pretty much useless. That being said, he is not the real man for the job. So maybe the real man for the job would have actually done something. So he's living up to the fake reputation she gave him.
Yeah, I mean, his only purpose is just that she wants him to, like, steal her away from the mayor.
Sure.
That's really all he does.
But it's just funny to me that, like, one dude is brought in, and they're not even, like, they barely even, like, address it, like, what's he even doing there, and then, like, once the party starts, he's just kind of partying.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll just be here, and if anything happens, I'll be over here dancing with your wife.
Pretty much.
The plot, you can't even think about plot, but when she asks for like a drink and he's like, I want a beer, and he's the one that like gives her what she was asking for.
Yeah.
But like the beer he pours her
has this much beer and like
the cup is foam. The cup is this large, and the literal beer is this, and foam is this.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. I was like, bro.
It's
Learn
really
how
funny.
to pour. Jesus. And the sacrifice that the Templars use is almost identical, except for in this, they're not up on horses.
Yeah.
But it's the same, like, cross thing they nailed her to rip her tits out for literally no other reason than to show it. In fact, 100% of the titties and nudity in this movie are forcibly shown.
Yeah.
Which is not hot, right? Like, I like nudity in film, obviously. We've talked about this plenty on the channel. But, like, when it's rape nudity or, like, forceful nudity, when it's not sensual, when a girl's not, complicit in it, then it's not nudity you want to see.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of nudity in this movie, but it's all, like, forceful, rapey nudity.
Yeah, not good.
Not good.
Not good at all.
Not good. 100% of the nudity in this movie is guys ripping girls' tits out of their shirt in, like, an attempt to either rape or kill them.
I mean, this is just another, like, this director clearly thinks that, like, women are
Objects.
like objects, and all that they think, or all that they need is, like, a man to come and, like, save them from their relationship, or, like, whatever,
Or
like,
ungay
force
them.
them into, or ungay them, or force them to have sex, and, like, it's pretty lame,
Yeah.
to say the least.
You know what else is lame? Having a dude that you're engaged to, and then having your old dude show up and just straight up cheating right in front of you.
Yeah, they're at the party and they're, like, kissing, and the mayor's, like, right there.
Right there.
Yeah, all that was really funny. They just didn't care because she's like, I'm leaving anyway. Like, I just needed you here, and now we're leaving together.
I'm not. But he straight up tells her, like, you know the kind of guy I am.
Yeah.
Like, this may not work out. It's just going to be an adventure. And she's
Right.
like, I like adventures.
Yeah, so, like, she's leaving this, like, stable life that she was building for herself, so to speak, for him, but, like, she's obviously not into the mayor. The mayor's also not a good guy anyway, so, like, I don't know.
I'm pretty surprised that, and this is just my own personal taste, and I'm totally fine with that this is how it was done, so I have no issue with this. I'm just surprised that the blonde girl who did or did not get raped, depending on who you ask here, if I would have thought she would have been the front and center love interest, and then the other girl would have been the girl who like got raped and whatever, because the blonde is much more attractive, and typically the more attractive girl gets the lead, and then the older, not as attractive girl is kind of thrown into a secondary role, right? Like a supporting role. But I like it this way. I mean, it's more realistic. I mean, this is just people are people, right? So I don't have a problem with it. I just found it odd,
Yeah.
that they went for that, which, yeah, that's fine. Just thought I'd point it out. And Murdo. How do you trust a guy like Murdo? When we first met Murdo, he's attacked by the kids in town like he's in a Hostel movie. And, Kaylee's like, you just are picking on him because he's ugly. And then, no. We find out those kids should have beat that guy to death.
Yeah, he's awful.
The girl who saves him ends up dying.
Yep.
In a most hilarious fashion. We'll get there. And I love that, like, the blind dead are so slow.
Yes.
And then when they get up on their horses to be fast, even when they're fast,
they're in slow-mo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super funny. And both of these movies, that's just it. That's the style.
They're not allowed to be fast. Even when they're fast, they're in slow motion.
But it's infuriating because it's like, especially at the end, this has another really angering ending where it's like with people trying to get away and they just need to run. They just need to move quickly, and they don't.
No.
And it's like they're supposed to be scared and they're supposed to be freaking out, but they're just like, the lack of action is just super dumb.
But it's also like supposed to be playing on our nightmarish fears of like it's like you were talking about when you were having that dream the other night when you were going to punch somebody and all your punches were like weak.
Yes,
right? Or
it
like
is
when
like
you try
that.
to run up the stairs
Yeah.
and your feet like won't move and you have no energy in your legs.
Yeah. But that
Right.
doesn't work in this film at all, or in these films, because it's not, like, the rest of the film isn't stylized like a nightmare. It's just the blind dead, which is the cool part. Like, the way they look and the way they move is creepy and eerie. But then when it comes to them, like, practically attacking people, and, like, the combat a lot of the times, it just doesn't seem to mesh well.
I would actually prefer them, obviously. Just because it would work in every way for me to be fast.
Yes, I think it would be better fast. I think that it would make the films like have way more tension. It would be scarier.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the rest of the movie was like super like artistic and like surreal and everything, then I would be fine with them staying in slow-mo. But because the rest of the films are like grounded in a reality.
If they're gonna be slow, there needs to be way more of them. Sure. It needs to be like undead zombie hordes where they're coming from every single direction. And it's like they're closing in on you and you're running out of space.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
That's where it's like, oh shit. Because even if they're slow, there's nothing you can do about thousands of them. You're going to run out of energy. They're gonna eventually get you.
Yeah.
So that's the only way that slow monsters are ever effective, is if like you are straight up trapped in a corner and there's either one big one or like a bunch of like human-sized ones. And I like that we show that the horses are dead under there, because I was wondering where the hell they got these horses, and then she pulls back the thing and the horse is dead. We don't get a great look at it, but she seems to be scared of it, so it's supposed to look dead. The one guy who's in love with Vivian in this, the henchman bodyguard that Mayor Duncan, has hired as like a goon. He is one of the main cops in Pieces. Alongside of Christopher George. Both Spanish films, of course. Spanish productions. But it was cool to see him. I was like, yeah, that's the guy from Pieces. I knew it immediately. The blood in this movie changes dramatically from like straight up bright red paint to like freaking Kool-Aid gushing
water.
red, like deep red.
Yes.
Like depends on what your injuries are.
Yes. Like where they are.
But I'll tell you what, man, if it was up to me on which one I was having come out of my mouth, it would be the watery.
It would, yeah.
The one that looks like Kool-Aid.
The thick paint one is gross.
What is that shit? Can you put that in your mouth?
No.
That straight up looks like paint. Are they putting paint in their mouth?
I don't know.
I'm not putting paint in my mouth for any production.
No.
That's insane. That's dangerous.
Yes.
I hope they didn't put actual paint in their mouth, because it really looked like it. I don't know what was up with the governor's like maid.
Oh my gosh.
Charades.
It was so funny.
That she was doing. She was trying to explain the blind dead to him.
She was trying to explain like what was going on. Like they're the blind dead. They're having a festival. They're all drinking.
Yeah.
But it was so funny because like part of her charades were like nonsense.
And then I'm assuming. I mean, I can only make this this leap in conclusion here, but pretty sure he bangs her.
Yes, that's why she's in bed with him.
And it's like...
And then he's like, don't forget about my hot chocolate.
Sure, but like, he never banged her before?
I don't know.
It didn't seem like he ever did. And he just like, she comes over, and then he just kind of rubs her, and then like, they've screwed now. Like, I don't know, it just seems like... That's what got her in bed with you?
I don't know.
I mean, he's disgusting.
I had the feeling
old.
that they'd been doing it before because she's being, paid for that as well.
Maybe. But it just doesn't, I don't know. Yeah, it's possible for sure. It just, to me, it was like, is this the first time? Because I ain't buying it.
Yeah. I understand.
I mean, she's there for the money, so I guess she doesn't give a shit. I like how, but like he puts on his glasses to check out her ass, like he's never seen it before or something. Because that scene made it seem like he was just creeping on his maid,
right? And
his maid was like not into it. But then she just sits on the bed next to him and he rubs her arm, and then they've screwed.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy ain't Don Juan. Okay, this guy ain't landing chicks half his age because he's sexy.
Nope.
Anyway, pretty much 100% of the injuries sustained in the party raid from the Blind Dead are small cuts across the cheek.
Yeah. That was really funny. A lot of them.
They just had a perfect aim for that cheek. They're like, even though I'm blind,
I know where the cheeks are.
Cheek was like that. Like small paper cuts across the cheek. Mm-hmm. I was like, where's the huge gashes? Where's the eyes hanging out of the heads? Where's the decapitations? Where's the arms being cut off? Where's any of that stuff?
Yes, that's what we
all
needed.
Just right across the face? Pretty lame.
Pretty lame, for sure.
Pretty lame. That's definitely my biggest gripe of the film, because the characters are ridiculous and actually fairly entertaining for me.
There
and
just
the
needs
Blind
to be
Dead's
more
cool,
violence.
but yeah, the violence really needs, because a movie like this 1,000% needs violence.
Yes.
And consensual nudity.
Yeah.
Of course, Mayor Duncan runs to get the money, like the master of Lake Town in The Hobbit. He don't give two shits about anybody.
Nope, just the money.
He keeps calling the governor, and the governor keeps being like, yeah, no, bye.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you even bothering?
I
What,
know.
like, who's the governor gonna call that he can't, being the mayor?
The army?
But he can't just like circumvent around that and be like, I'm the mayor of this city. The governor is ignoring me. He doesn't have those numbers. I guess,
No.
this ain't like modern times.
Right.
Okay.
It's not like, let me just...
I know that the mayor can't call in like a military and he needs the governor's approval. But like, he doesn't seem like he's trying that hard.
No, he doesn't at all.
The governor's kind of like, and he's like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, he doesn't try to convince him at all.
And
the mayor sucks because he's like so selfish. He doesn't try really that hard to save anybody by like making those phone calls.
Sure.
And then later on...
But it ultimately leads to his death.
Yes. His selfishness?
Yeah.
Yeah. It does. But he sucks.
Sure, I mean, he deserves it, but I just, for his own safety, right? He doesn't give a shit about anyone, fine. But, like, I just feel like he should have, in any of these situations, we've said this on the channel a million times, I'll continue to keep saying it forever, in a situation like this, if you ever find yourself in a situation where the Blind Dead have returned,
Yeah.
or zombies are coming, or whatever, you don't tell people that. You tell people that you're being attacked by Spanish soldiers.
Sure.
Whatever you got to tell them. Whatever you know is going to make them act.
Yeah.
Like Russia's invading.
Right.
Whatever. Right? Like, because if you were to call right now, if you were a mayor and you were calling a governor, you would just have to tell him, like, we're being invaded by Russia. We're being invaded by China.
Yeah, and then they would
they would send the military immediately.
Right.
Right? The Blind Dead are back. Bro, nobody's coming.
Yeah.
So the military will sort it out when they get there. Once the military gets there and they see the Blind Dead, then of course they're going to be believers and they're going to take them out. So it doesn't matter. As long as they're still there when they get there, you're good. So don't worry about the semantics of like what words you're using. Use whatever words get them there. If he didn't believe you the first time and you called the second time, be like, I don't know, we were drinking too much and we thought we saw the Blind Dead, but I guess it's, it's actually an invasion.
Right.
So whatever you have to say to get that guy to send him, but just being like, oh, you don't believe us? How could you not believe an impossible thing? It's just being stupid. Okay. And yeah, the bodyguard loves Vivian too, and of course they've got to fight to the death over her. Mm-hmm. And of course Jack defeats DaCosta. Mm-hmm. And dude, the mayor using a kid as a distraction and being like, you want candy from your dad?
So awful.
It's a pretty dumb kid, though. Like, in that scenario, you really
young.
think that your dad is outside with candy?
I know. She's supposed to be pretty young, and, like, she just woke up from sleeping, and it is dumb. It is a dumb thing to fall for, but the mayor sucks for, like, even telling her that to begin with.
So, like I had said in a previous video that we did tonight, the idea that the mayor and like multiple different people can march outside and be killed and like get back in the house or leave or whatever, and the guys who were hired as protection, who are lookouts,
right,
have not seen any of this happen,
yeah,
is genuinely one of the dumbest things I've seen in a film in a while. Like, how they're not aware, how the mom of the daughter and the wife of the husband, like, being the same person, how she sleeps through through her husband being killed
and
her daughter being tricked. Like, how long has this chick been asleep? Would you really be asleep in this situation? And for a long period of time, and you wouldn't be on red alert if you fell asleep and anything happened, if your kid was lured outside. Like, there's no fucking way. But the guys that are upstairs, who are literally being lookouts, trying to make sure that they're keeping their ears, and eyes peeled, do not have any idea that they ran to the car that's right out front where they're looking.
Yeah.
They didn't see any of that take place.
No. Obviously not.
How is this possible?
I don't have an explanation.
It's literally impossible. Because they're fighting over Vivian.
I guess, yeah.
That's it.
That could be the explanation.
But the guy is literally, like, holding a torch.
Yeah.
Right? So there's light that's going to draw your eye to it. And he's screaming as he's murdered.
Yeah.
And they don't hear that in a completely silent town.
Right.
Where everyone's dead,
yeah.
including the killers, who make no noise outside of maybe the chanting that we can't figure out if it's diegetic or non-diegetic. Regardless, all of that. They're not hearing any of this. Or seeing any of this.
They should be, but they aren't.
And pretty much everyone slips out of this very small house without anyone noticing. The freaking ugly dude, Murdo,
yes.
and the blonde chick, they're able to slip out through this, like, opening that he doesn't want. And she, for some reason, goes with him.
Yeah, we don't know why.
I can't imagine why she's like... The tunnel's huge.
Yeah.
So, once she got in it, she'd be like, everyone can come.
Yes.
Like, this isn't something we can't tell people about. But she's scared, whatever. Then he gets himself decapitated, and what does she do?
She puts her head right where he got decapitated.
She removes his body.
Yes.
That's blocking the hole, so that she can then get scared and move over to the hole and literally start to raise her head up to the hole so that she can be grabbed and killed.
Yeah.
This is beyond idiotic.
Yeah.
This is actually mind-numbingly stupid. And the fact that anybody could watch that in any time setting, in any audience, in anywhere could watch that, or anybody could film that
and be like,
and try to be serious about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, people would totally move up towards the kill zone.
Yeah, like that makes sense.
She wouldn't immediately see the blood running down her hand and the blood, and then his body falls and he has no head, and she wouldn't run off the other way. She would move her body closer to the danger.
Right. Of course.
She literally is like down here and then moves all the way up into the area where he just died for literally no other reason other than she's just like repositioning her body from her crying and scared. Like, what? Like, oh my god, there's so much danger over there.
Yeah.
What?
That's what I would do.
Dude, that scene. What? What?
Just what?
So many things. So many things. The blind dead finding this and play. We went over all of them. Just so many things. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Jack going to rescue the kid.
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like the fact that he is so slow, doesn't run with her ever. She can't run to him in the beginning because she's like pinned to the wall with the sword or the dagger or whatever. Yeah. So that's fine, but then they just don't run until the very like last two steps.
Literally.
Into the door, and he's like, run.
And that cost the mom
the mom
her
dies.
life.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Right.
And she could have like distracted them for a second and then run back in the house.
Absolutely.
But she just decides to stay there and take it.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, I mean, that's just the shit you have to accept in this franchise. That's the kind of stuff that they're like, you have to accept that people are never going to make a rational decision about the speed of how they should be handling this, because it would be one thing if the blind dead were completely stationary and very close. So the way this scene would have worked, because I always have to be on set to reconfigure these things to make sense, and it would be very simple and be the exact same scene, is the blind dead are all right there. They're all right in front of him. Mm-hmm. And so he has to sneak out, right, and weave through them without touching them and not make a sound. He's like, and he's weaving through them. And then he like grabs her and removes the knife really quietly. And they're right there. They're all right there. And he has like a corridor, a passageway or whatever. And she's at the end of it. Yeah. And he has to kind of like finagle his way through. And he like, you know, almost kicks a can and notices it and stops. Or whatever, something's going to fall over and he grabs it, right, to not make any noise. And then he weaves through and he gets the girl and they slowly they'll walk their way back. And then he makes a noise, kicks something over, and then they're about to come in. And then the mom comes in and she's like, over here. And then they kind of come over and she has to like go a little further in, and then they kind of corner her. And then she gets killed as they run past her.
Sure, yeah.
It's the exact same scene, but actually makes sense and adds way more tension because they're moving forward at the speed they normally move. And they've seen them move plenty of times now for reference, that they're not going to move any faster if they move any faster. So it's not like they mirror your speed. Mm-hmm. So if you're slow, they're slow. No, run out and grab her, run back with her. Everyone lives, you close the door. You got the mom killed by your slowness. There's no point for it. Grab her, come back. The blind dead are already moving in your direction. You're not tipping them off to your area. You're not preventing them from staying stationary. They are already on the move back to where you're at. So there's zero reason not to just run out and grab her, run back with her. She weighs 2 friggin' pounds. Pick her up and run back. He does pick her up. Stuffs her face right into his armpit, which I was like, bro, he can't smell good. And he runs her, he just run her back. But no, literally, as you said, as soon as the mom dies, then they decide to run the literal last 2 steps. Mm-hmm. That stuff, even in a stupid movie, even in something where you're laughing and being like, oh my God, this is a B movie, it is still infuriating.
Yeah, it really is.
Because there's no reason for it. And there's no way any audience ever bought it.
No.
I don't care. 1973 Portugal residents were like, bullshit.
Yes.
100% they were in the theater like, run, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, and I wouldn't blame them. Or, that in Spanish. So, there you go. Good thing all drugs in Portugal are legal, because after watching this movie, you're going to need some heroin. Or whatever your drug of choice is to calm down. Murdo makes off with the babe. I don't understand any of that shit. And then the as you said, and I agree with you, the blind dead in the end, the way they look.
Yeah, they look great.
As they collapse.
Oh, as they collapse, yeah. I liked that. It looked like they were. It almost looked time lapse, but it wasn't. It was just them all slowly falling down. Yeah, I thought that looked really cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just they had to wait it out till dawn. If they knew that, they could have just stayed in the house till the sun came up, and they'd all be fine. Yep. But they didn't know that, so I'll give them that. But anything else, I can't give them. Yeah. Right? There's so many dumbass decisions made here. I like how when the dude who's like Jack is caught like basically screwing Vivian in a abandoned ruins, and this like caretaker comes up on them. They have like no humility of it at all, no worries that this prominent figure, like everyone would know they're dating. Yeah. And like they're seen together, and they have no concerns at all this word's gonna get back to her fiance.
They're very lackadaisical about it.
100%. Mm-hmm. So, but that's that. We did it. Yeah. So, next time we've got the Ghost Galleon, which is the coolest name. It's like pirates and everything. I was like really looking forward to that one, but unfortunately, that, from my memory, is the worst of the 4. So, even though it has the best name, It's the worst movie. Although Return of the Evil Dead is cool too. So there you go. And then Night of the Seagulls. You want to talk about a weird name.
It's a really weird.
That one does not sound scary.
No, not at all.
Especially with the Blind Dead, because they're not sequels. The Blind Seagulls.
Yeah.
Night of, yeah. So that's that. Until next week, guys. Bye.